To pray, there's no angels where I go. Only pieces that are broken, scattered dreams across the floor. I'm home.
Alrighty, hello everybody. This is Kira's show here. Now, whenever we last left off, Midoriya, he had just gathered a crew, and everyone has shot out for space. Along with that, Midoriya didn't want to hide the fact that Sophie, the superwoman from the future, is his daughter, telling that to Jiro. Although, after their baby started flying into the air, yeah, she's kind of surprised she didn't try putting those two together sooner. Anyways, now, their team is flying for Brainiac's ship, consisting of Midoriya, Jiro, Sophie, Bakugo, Uraka, Saiko and Telly, John, Mei Hatsume, and I believe, well, I know Damian Wayne is not here. He is still with Raven. Although I do want to say that would be the main 8. They tried to convince other heroes to come along with them. He even tried talking to Dick Grayson. He politely said that he would not go along with him. The city does still need help rebuilding. They've also had to convert other places into actual machine shops, so as to help them create, well, artillery, weapons that they needed to use to defend the city, and other things for utilities. Bikes, food factories, and other things. Basically, all the other cities are working together. And they've all been trying to trade supplies back and forth. The teleporters have been fairly easy to use, leading their supplies to be there instantaneously. So trading and renegotiating, well, they kind of have to happen on the spot. Now, along with that, he does want to be with Sapphire, since things have been going on. Now, with that being said, back over to Midoriya and their crew. They are flying to the space sector. As soon as they do get into it, Midoriya is looking around. The space sector is fairly different. It has a blue sun. That is actually very odd. But what else? What difference can it make? As Midoriya sees Brainiac's ship, thinking that this can be a fairly easy mission. But knowing Brainiac, if he does have the combined knowledge of over 10,000 species, he knows we're coming. Meaning that stealth is very much out of the realm of possibility. Then again, as Midoriya starts using his Batman-like intellects, thinking for a second. The guy claims to be one of the smartest men in the universe, if not the smartest. He believes a 12th level intellect, if he's not wrong. Let's see. Batman rated Superman at a 10th level intellect because of his super speed, meaning that he can think faster than a second. Beyond that, possibly more. As he's going through his mind, thinking, Batman's speed, or Superman's speed, Batman's 8th level intellect, those make a fairly good combination. And if he's doing the math correctly, he might be close to his 12th level. Possibly even a little bit above that, but he's not too sure. He can use that. As they get closer to the ship. This being whenever robots and other drones start flying out, making their way through and beginning to blast away at them. Sophie, Bakugo, Ochako, and Jiro They all have power rings, except for Sophie, who she can breathe in space since she's Kryptonian. Actually, she doesn't even really need to breathe oxygen. Kryptonians don't do that. If I go into the science of it, I think I might confuse some people. Anyways, they're fighting and holding off these robots. While Midoriya, he's punching through any of the ones he needs to, making sure that he keeps one hand focused on everyone in the bubble, since if it goes pop, so do their heads. Anyways, now, with that being said, he finally does get onto the actual ship. And they do actually get everything sorted out, getting completely into it where there is a breathable atmosphere. As soon as that does happen, they do begin to think. Where to go, where to go. Brainiac has to be somewhere in the control room. So, they just need to get there. Then again, this place is also huge. Midoriya radioing his wife, asking her if she's going to be okay. Meanwhile, Jiro's outside. She's been thinking about a lot of different constructs for her, well, ring. And she does create one thing that she knows would be fairly fun to use. She calls it a giant sound gun. Basically, she creates a suit around her entire body. And she uses her earlobes, plugging them into a part she has right by her neck. As soon as she does that, she creates constructs of speakers all along her arms, varying heights, degrees, and whatever, and blasts them directly in front of her. The amount of recoil she gets from it is a lot. Then again, all she really has to do is create a jetpack on her back and begin to use it. Basically meaning that she can blast away at things and destroy them with sounds. Basically amping up her quirk's ability to an 11. Now, with that being said, she does have stronger constructs, so fighting is going to be a lot easier. Along with her fighting with her daughter, fueling her passion. Her daughter punching through and using her heat vision throughout the entire battle. While Bakugo's flying through and actually using his super speed. If he can't punch through a robot, he quickly begins to vibrate through it, and grabs a handful of wires whenever he needs to, yanking them out, since they're probably going to be very important. While Ochako, she's just working on one thing. Blunt force. She creates constructs with a lot of weight, and just begins to smash them and throw them around. If she needs to, she can quickly switch her emotions and pick back up on them, being able to use stronger ones. If she's feeling angry, she can use that, even whenever she is using hope. Deciding that she can switch over to orange, grabbing up some robots in a giant construct, and smashing a huge amount of them together. Now, back inside the ship, Midoriya, everyone is making their way through. And they do encounter resistance, the robots. This being whenever May brings up her gun and begins to fire at them. Midoriya turning to see the beam of light, hit directly into a robot and blast through it. As soon as that does happen, Midoriya grabs the barrel and points it directly downwards, along with taking her hand off of the actual trigger, telling her that she's got to be crazy if she's planning on using that in here. Well, how else am I supposed to test out my babies? Your what? Don't worry about her, that's just what she calls those things. Okay. Anyways. How do I explain this? Brainiac, he doesn't only keep the knowledge. If we break that stuff in here, we're probably going to lose a lot of it. But another thing. He keeps caged cities in here. Keeps them in, well, I'm not even sure how it works. I'm guessing it's a form of, spatial and dimensional manipulation, possibly. Shrinking something down is fairly complicated. And Telly just saying that that sounds complicated and very interesting, but they can save it for later. Bring her hands up and firing one of these gauntlets that May gave her. They do hit their targets, punching a hole straight through a robot. As she just thinks that these are actually very useful. May just saying that they should be. She made them. As they begin to make their way through the ship. Midoriya, tearing apart most of the robots he can, and using his super speed. Not even bothering to take out ones that he doesn't need to, since he dismantles them and they just fall to the ground. The salvageable parts. Now, eventually, he does arrive in the piloting bay. As it is huge, the room is in the center of the ship. And, well, just looking up, you can see these caged cities. Brainiac strung up these cities just like they're Christmas decorations on a tree. That's not right. Especially since just looking up, Midoriya can count over 278 cities. They're just bottled up, taken away from their planets. This actually does kind of make Midoriya mad. What right does he have to do this? His captives. They're just people. Now, Midoriya uses X-ray vision to look around the ship. And looking in the direct center, he does see Brainiac, who's encased in metal, along with the fact that there's tubes coming down from the ceiling, plugged directly into his head. Now, Midoriya walks over to it, and just looks up at it, walking around and inspecting it, as he does see Brainiac. Him finally turning his attention to Midoriya, seeing him. As soon as he does, he begins to undo parts of the face mask, asking why is he here? This is my domain, and that you have no right to be here. You are trespassing. Midoriya angered, telling him that he has no right to do this. You say I'm trespassing, but what are you? You're nothing but a common thief. I've had to deal with people like you before, back on Earth, when it still existed. Ah, you are the weird anomaly, aren't you? The Earthling, who was responsible for butchering many galaxies. What did they call you? Ah, yes. In many languages you were called Death. Others called you the Apocalypse, given life. Then what was it? They called you something else. Can you refresh my memory? Midoriya getting angry, but his expression not changing, telling Brainiac that he is here for information, and that he's willing to bet he has it. Ah, you do show quite the arrogance in assuming that I don't have the information. Although, information that you seek, that is numerous. Explain. I'm looking for Hal Jordan, along with Ion, the green entity of willpower. I know he's out in the universe somewhere. He had to go somewhere when the power battery was destroyed. And Hal Jordan, well, the universe is vast. Actually, along with that, there's another person I want to find. His name is Mirio. He's the only other Green Lantern not on our planet. Ah, stop me from saving a city, then use my tactic to save your civilization. Well, I believe that makes you just like me, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. Because if I was going to do it, I would do it right. You took one city from every other civilization. So what? You're missing information. You just got what was genuinely from their part of the planet. Doesn't mean you got everything. That just means that there's information lost to time that not even you know of. And that's going to irk you for the rest of your days. Knowing that. I know it's in the back of your mind, Brainiac. This brings where Brainiac disengages his, well, pilot suit. I guess you can call it. He stops interfacing with the ship. As he stands up, standing tall, towering above Midori at almost twice his height, saying that assumption is quite the accusation, and that there is no proof to back it up. Midori is saying that he can prove it. In fact, he's also a lot smarter than him. Do not compare yourself to a 12th level intellect such as I. I am the smartest man in the universe. Are you now? Then tell me this. On my planet, there's a place called America. What do they make whiskey out of? They make it out of corn. Good. Now, do you know that are you aware that you can also make alcohol out of potatoes, rice, anything you really see or think you can do? Now, that little process, it can go on in many different ways and many different types. In fact, on my planet, we even lost thousands of years worth of recipes. Hell, not even that, just talking about food and culture, we're still discovering it there. Then again, we're probably not going to find anything like that ever again. On this new planet, though, we will create one, and we'll make sure it stays recorded. However, you had a missed opportunity. I took places from all around my planet. You took one of every single planet. What was it? There's a certain word for that. You don't think ahead, do you? Brainiac getting mad and throwing a punch outwards, straight at Midoriya's face. Midoriya dodging to the left and bringing his hand up, as the gauntlet of the God Killer forms around his arm. Midoriya grabbing his hand and throwing it upwards into the air, backwards, twisting it before he smashes him across the face. Sayako and Mei begin to make quick work of what they need to. The two running over to the, systems and monitors, beginning to look through them, trying to think. There needs to be a way that they can use this, right? Well, there has to be. Looking around. Apparently, this is not going to be easy. Since more robots do start to arrive. Mei turning around and beginning to blast at them with her weaponry. The things she's using right now can be best, I think described. I want to say like an M16, but it also might be like an M1 Garand. Then again, it can possibly also be like a sawed-off shotgun with the way it's working. Because I want to say that it can fasters at a really good fire rate, but at the same time, it also does spread outwards, like a shotgun. Now, with that being said, she's blasting this weapon at the robots, and trying to take them down. As soon as that weapon stops working, she just drops it to the ground, and brings her hand up to her chest, tapping a button and beginning to turn on this super suit, as she calls it. This being where she actually does feel her body start to change a little bit. She feels her physical attributes getting a bit stronger, along with her hearing, and she thinks her reflexes get better. Along with that, she's actually able to fly a little bit, or at least hover off the ground. Since she did put in rocket boosters into the suit, as she flies forwards and tries to smash into one of these robots. Now, as soon as she smashes into the robot, her hand hits it, denting and actually bending the metal inwards, as the secondary mechanism pops out of her hands. Basically, just like how Midoriya's shoes in Canon, during the overhaul fight, he had that weird spring in his shoes that made it like another kick. I want to say that she put that type of device in the gauntlets, making a double punch system. Now, whenever this double punch happens, the robot gets sent actually smashing backwards into another one, as she flies forwards again, just beginning to beat into them, ripping apart panels and actually throwing them into the other robots, as hard as she can. So far the suit is performing pretty well, as she clicks a button on her chest again, testing out weapon capabilities, beginning to blast laser beams and other things at the robots, along with actually testing out something she wants to know about. She wants to see exactly how strong and durable this metal actually is, and if it has offensive capabilities. As she takes a piece of the robot's metal and starts swinging it around as much as she can. It's a very sturdy piece, somewhat using it like a blunt weapon. As Sayako is tapping away at and trying to at least decode what she's seeing. As she brings up a thermos and starts chugging tea as much as she can, trying to at least boost her intellect. Now, she's trying to at least download however much information she can, since she's not sure if this place will be destroyed. Now, let's cut over to Midoriya and Brainiac. Brainiac is currently smashing Midoriya through a wall, and trying to actually hit him and disable him with his suits. Now, as he sends one of these tendrils flying at Midoriya, Midoriya actually does get struck by it going into his arm and beginning to electrocute him. Midoriya actually screaming out in pain a bit, as one thing does happen. He does have his heat vision fire off, blasting it into Brainiac, as it actually does cut one of the tendrils and he dodges away at it, as he immediately stops it, not wanting to cause a lot of damage to the ship. Brainiac saying that he is not stupid. In fact, he does know what happens if he does try and fight him seriously here. So many lives and so many people dead by your hands again. In fact, funny you mention it. I have a collection of cities from planets you destroyed, planets you have devastated. Do you want to know how many are in my collection? Midoriya getting angry and flying up at him, as Brainiac sends more of these things flying at Midoriya. Midoriya just moving around and immediately grabbing them, ripping them apart as he goes to punch Brainiac, who grabs him by his throat. Midoriya kind of shocked for a second, before using his rings and creating a construct. This wrapping around his arm. Midoriya bringing up his hand as he sends a rocket barreling into Brainiac's face, which does not do a lot. All it did was piss him off and destroy a lot of the metal around his face. Midoriya making his weapons as he gets sent flying into the ground, using the God Killer sword. Now, as soon as Midoriya has it wrapped around his hands and beginning to create blades, Brainiac does not think anything of this, thinking of it as a simple blade, sending his tendrils flying at Midoriya once more, who then cuts away at it, slashing it into pieces, as he begins to fly towards Brainiac, who was caught off guard. Midoriya slicing upwards and actually getting him by one of his arms, that making Brainiac wince in pain, as Midoriya turns around and goes to slash down, trying to cut away at Brainiac's chest, as he does move backwards, and punches Midoriya square in the face, breaking his nose, and sending him backwards as the God Killer's sword latches onto Midoriya's arm, and begins to reform into gauntlets and armor, as it goes all the way up his arm and begins to cover his chest, along with his vital weak points. Midoriya getting back up as he has this, along with a crown covering his face and the top of his head. Brainiac kind of, intrigued. Not many things can cut through his body, let alone the metal he has. Midoriya took his left arm, so the specimen will be worthy of study, along with your arsenal. Now, Midoriya, he is ready, bringing his hands up and thinking that he's going to have to fight him on fair ground. As he does rush forwards, Brainiac calling upon robots, along with other alien technologies, bringing up his hand and blasting away at him. Midoriya dodging to the left, before immediately using his heat vision, trying to blast Brainiac square in the palm to get that thing destroyed. Now, as soon as Midoriya fires it off, Brainiac blocks it, by actually blocking it with a few of the tendrils he just lines up as a wall. And he does actually rush towards Midoriya, using his right arm, since it's his only arm, and picking him up, smashing him into the ground as he puts his knee directly solid into his gut. Even though there is armor there, he knows that he can still squish this man, as he just begins to beat Midoriya with his arm over and over again. But before trying to stab into his face with one of these tendrils, he wants to know with his human nose. He's tried to get in his head and he actually succeeded. So, you are not worthy of that title. I am the only one. Do you understand me? As he stabs downwards his device, trying to get it directly into Midoriya, him creating a construct directly in front of his face, as it shatters upon contact. Midoriya, his construct survived, but this tendril did not. Midoriya throwing up his leg and immediately smashing Brainiac in his lower back. Before, on his leg, a construct begins to appear, latching directly into Brainiac's body along with his spine. Midoriya creating a construct of spikes, stabbing it directly into Brainiac's back, before he smashes his leg downwards onto the ground, getting back up and getting the power over Brainiac, telling him that he is no mere man, nor is he Kryptonian. I am something else, something you will never study. Well then. You do not know what I am. If you just kill me, then I will just find another piece of code to come back from. I have done it before. In fact, making flesh is not something I am unaccustomed to, but it is a lengthy process. Now, I would rather not have to rebuild this body. Midoriya annoyed, smashing his hands into Brainiac's face over and over and over again. Brainiac tries to use his suit to attack Midoriya. Midoriya just ripping it apart piece by piece, before Brainiac does try and launch his own counterattack, ordering more robots to attack his companions. Now, Midoriya, he is listening. Everyone outside is okay. However, as the problem is inside the ship, as Mei Hatsume is getting overpowered by robots, actually being blasted in her shoulder and having a piece of the suit destroyed right there, while the other ones do try and throw her around like a ragdoll and beat her around. However, you do have Sayako, who is still working on trying to just hack into the ship, let alone find a USB port. As she herself is thinking, Looking around, she does not have many options, deciding to do one that may be very stupid. Oh, hopefully this dumb idea works. As she starts running, ducking underneath a robot and then jumping over another one. She jumps over its leg as she almost trips, then grabbing onto the piloting device Brainiac was in, turning around and immediately encasing herself in it, as she looks at these things above her, taking a deep breath in and stabbing one directly into her forehead. The device linking up with her, as she somewhat begins to scream. That being whenever she does at least understand something a little bit more. She starts to download something of Brainiac's, a piece of his subconscious, and actually more and more of his data, ordering the robots to stand down, all of them turning off. As Brainiac is aware of this disturbance, immediately ordering his ship to rid the intruders from the area, as it activates a protocol. It is not self-destruct, it's more like, well, in case of an infection, it will subsequently heat something up to a highest degree it can, without melting or damaging anything inside. Meaning that even the cities inside the cases will be perfectly fine. There will, however, be a bright flash, and the area around will be completely neutralized of any biological life, including Brainiac. Now, Sayako, she is trying to figure all this out, with her mind racing, as she starts to order the ship to do what she commands, fighting against Brainiac on the mind, well, I want to say the mindscape level, or the plane of the mind. But Midoriya finishes his job with Brainiac, beating him until he is at least unconscious, and ripping the things out of his head. He does want to get a bit more information. Brainiac's ship will possibly be the best way that they can get it, and they just need to hack into it. Now, Midoriya, he does think though, as he's about to walk out of the room, looking back at Brainiac. Whenever that man gets back up, he's going to rebuild and continue to do what he does. I'm not allowing that anymore. As a sword begins to form out of the gauntlets, Midoriya does look down at it, thinking, it would be so easy. Walking back over and stabbing a sword downwards directly into Brainiac's body, stabbing it into his heart, at least he thinks, before just pulling the sword back outwards and stabbing it directly into his brain, and pulling the sword out. Now, as soon as he does that, he walks back into the command center, seeing Sayako, well, basically strapped into the center of the room, with these things protruding out of her head. Him flying up and asking her if she is okay, as she's basically just staring upwards, looking at all the information. Now, you do have May, who's also been injured, her somewhat just limping back in, and looking at the screen, recognizing that she's beginning to decode certain things, and she can actually make a little bit of this out. Midoriya saying that they need to get her out of there, and that it's not safe. Now, as soon as Midoriya does actually look at her, she does look like she's gone brain dead. Midoriya using his telepathy and trying to listen. He can hear her thoughts, they are still there. There's too much information being pumped into her head at once. Midoriya beginning to actually try and pull apart this piece. However, as soon as he begins to pull it apart, Sayako just looks up at him, or looks down at him, saying, no, she can handle this. She can do it. Her life's work is not going to be for nothing, and she's learning so much. She's learned far beyond anything she's ever seen. She's learned so many technologies, so many inventions, so many scientific discoveries, cures to diseases they don't even know of. Midoriya is just telling her that that information is not worth going brain dead, as he focuses on trying to pull it open. Sayako doing one single thing. She brings her hand up and immediately grabs him by his throat, telling him that he does not understand, as she steps off of the platform, the things being pulled from her head, saying that she's learned too much. Now, this would immediately surprise Midoriya, confused, looking down at her skin. Her hands are already turning green, and her body is already going through some sort of process. May running over and immediately trying to get her back to focus, telling her that she knows a lot, yes, but look at yourself. This being where Sayako snaps back into reality, letting go of Midoriya, confused as to how she's even able to do that. Walking over and looking into a mirror, or at least a reflective surface, and seeing her body. A lot of her skin has already changed, along with her eyes and the weird things on her head. Apparently, the machine did something to her head as soon as she stabbed those things into it, so as to not have to repeat that process. It's a fairly, well, actually, it's a fairly useful mechanism to her mind. In fact, if she could repeat this process over again, then she might find out more information. That being some of the things running through her mind. However, Midori does snap her back to reality, telling her that they need the information, and that they would like to know exactly what's going on. Now, she goes on saying that she's looking for it. In fact, the computer is already working on decoding it. If this place was destroyed in, well, your daughter's timeline, then the amount of information we can learn from here is insane. In fact, I can learn more than I even thought. I just need to connect back with that thing. Are you sure that's a good idea? Because if you connect back to that thing and you start going crazy again, I might have to either kill me or disable me. But I'm just saying, if you're gonna do one of those things, be very careful. The technology in this room is more sensitive than we think. Alright, well, then go ahead. Midoriya is peering into her mind. Nothing seems to be wrong. She seems to be okay from what he can tell, as she reconnects to the devices, beginning to look through other things. Meanwhile, you do have the rest of the crew walking into the room looking at Sayako, who is currently in this piloting chair, if you can call it that. Sayako immediately, well, decoding everything, and getting the computer to work faster. Well, you do have Sophie. As soon as she walked in, she freezes. That being the biggest change to her timeline. Her friend, or, well, one of her allies, or her mentor, if you can call her that, is currently green. Looks exactly like the hyperintelligence. So, what happened while she was out there? Her immediately asking this question. Midoriya, not really sure how to explain it. The only one who knew about it was May. Her just saying that she connected with those devices. Now, with that being said, after a bit of time and effort, they would get the information that they need. Along with Sophie discovering that Brainiac is dead. That was not how this was supposed to be played out. Then again, she can't really blame them. Now, with that being said, Midoriya also does begin to look through the information about these cities on a computer. From what he can tell, all of these cities, well, they're just that. The last of their kind. They're going to need to find places to set them down at. And looking at the logs, the planets Brainiac did not destroy, they are still there. So if they return these cities to them, then they can help a lot. Now, with that, this is whenever Midoriya, he would ask a favor of Sayako, asking her if she can take the cities back to their planets. And exactly how long would that take? Her just explaining that, from what she can think of or at least calculate right now, it would take roughly about 2 to 3 years for just the ones currently in the room. And that's if the variable is that their planet is still there. Factoring that in would be easier. However, factoring it out causes a lot of problems and that would mess up her calculations. Now, with that being said, they would at least head back to Earth for right now. Or, not Earth, actually, my bad. The planet that they call home. Now, I do want to give this planet an official name. Humans will call it Sanctuary. I want to say that that is a very, very fitting title. Now, with that being said, I do hope you guys enjoyed. And have an amazing night. I'll catch you guys in the next part.